the vast tapestry of human history, there have been few souls who walked the corridors of absolute power while maintaining the gentle wisdom of the philosopher. Tonight, we journey back nearly 2,000 years to the golden age of Rome to meet one such extraordinary man. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the greatest empire the world had known, sat upon a throne of marble and gold, commanding legions that stretched from the mists of Britain to the deserts of Africa. Yet in the quiet moments between councils and campaigns, he turned inward, writing thoughts not meant for proclamation or posterity, but for his own soul's refinement. This is a story of contrasts, of power and humility, of action and contemplation, of the external world's demands and the internal world's peace. As we explore his life and teachings tonight, let yourself sink deeper into comfort, allowing the ancient wisdom to wash over you like warm, gentle waves. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Simply rest and listen as we discover how an emperor learned to sleep peacefully despite carrying the weight of an empire on his shoulders. In the year 121 CE, in the city of Rome, a child was born who would one day rule the known world. But that destiny lay far ahead, hidden beyond horizons of time. For now there was only a young boy named Marcus Annius Verus, born into privilege, yes, but more importantly, born into a family that valued wisdom, virtue, and the examined life. His father died when Marcus was young, leaving the boy to be raised in the household of his grandfather, a man of dignity and quiet strength. Rome in those days was a city of wonder. Marble temples gleaming white against blue skies, forums filled with the murmur of commerce and debate, aqueducts carrying cool water from distant mountains. Through these ancient streets, young Marcus walked, his mind already turning toward questions larger than most children pondered. What is the good life? How should one behave? What truly matters when all the noise and bustle fade away? As Marcus grew, his education became central to his life's formation. In Rome, a boy of his station received tutors, the finest minds available to shape young intellects. But Marcus was not content with mere rhetoric or the superficial accomplishments that satisfied so many of his peers. He was drawn, almost magnetically, to philosophy. At 17, he embraced the life of a philosopher with remarkable dedication, even choosing to sleep on the hard ground and wear the simple cloak of a student until his mother persuaded him toward moderation. This tells us something essential about Marcus. His sincerity was absolute, his desire for truth uncompromising. Among his tutors were Stoic philosophers, men who taught that virtue alone constitutes happiness, that we must accept what we cannot change, and that our peace lies not in external circumstances, but in the quality of our thoughts and choices. One teacher in particular, Junius Rusticus, introduced Marcus to the personal writings of Epictetus, a former slave who had become one of Stoicism's greatest voices. Imagine young Marcus, sitting in a quiet garden as afternoon light slants through olive trees, reading words written by a man who had lived in chains, yet found perfect freedom in his mind. The contrast must have been profound. Here was Marcus, born to comfort and destined for supreme power, learning wisdom from one who had nothing but could not be diminished. The Stoic teachings took root in his soul like seeds in fertile soil. They taught him that all human beings are part of one great whole, connected like limbs of a single body. They taught him to distinguish between what lies within his control, his judgments, his responses, his intentions, and what lies beyond it, which is nearly everything else. And they taught him that peace comes from acceptance, from working with the grain of the universe rather than against it. These weren't abstract ideas for Marcus. They became the very foundation of how he would later govern, how he would face hardship, and how he would find rest amid turmoil. Let these ideas settle gently in your own mind now, like snow falling softly on a winter evening. There is wisdom in accepting what is. There is peace in releasing what we cannot control. Feel your body growing heavier, more relaxed as you contemplate this ancient truth. Fortune has a curious way of shaping destinies. The Emperor Hadrian, observant and wise, took notice of young Marcus's exceptional character. Hadrian had no sons of his own, and the question of succession weighed heavily on his mind. Through a complex arrangement, Hadrian ensured that Marcus would one day inherit the throne, but not immediately. First, Marcus would be adopted by Antoninus Pius, a gentle and capable man who would rule for 23 peaceful years. During this long apprenticeship, Marcus learned statecraft at Antoninus's side. He observed how a good emperor governs, with patience, with attention to detail, with concern for justice and the welfare of his people. But he also continued his philosophical studies, never allowing the intoxications of approaching power to distract him from the cultivation of his character. How many of us, promised such immense authority, could maintain such humility? Marcus seemed to understand something that eludes most people throughout their entire lives, that external achievements mean nothing if we lose ourselves in the pursuit of them. The years passed gently for Rome during Antoninus's reign. Marcus married Faustina, daughter of the emperor, and they had children. He took on responsibilities, served in various official capacities, and prepared himself for the burden he would one day carry. We might picture him during these years, walking through the imperial palace at night when the business of the day had quieted, perhaps pausing in a moonlit courtyard to gaze up at the stars. The same stars you might imagine now if you wish, distant and eternal, caring nothing for human ambitions, yet somehow comforting in their indifference. The Stoics taught that we are part of nature, part of the cosmos, and that the rational principle that orders the stars also dwells within us. In 161 CE, Antoninus Pius died peacefully, and Marcus Aurelius, at 40 years of age, became emperor. His first act was characteristic of his nature. He insisted on sharing power with his adoptive brother, Lucius Verus, though he could have ruled alone. This was not political calculation, it was principle. Marcus believed in doing what was right, regardless of personal advantage. And so began the reign of the philosopher emperor, a reign that would test him in ways he could never have imagined, forging his philosophy not in the quiet of a garden, but in the chaos of plague, war, and betrayal. Yet through it all, he would return to his Stoic principles, like a traveler returning to a safe harbor. As you rest now, breathing slowly and deeply, consider how having a philosophy, a way of understanding the world and your place in it, can provide such an anchor when storms arise. The philosopher on the throne found that philosophy was no longer merely contemplative. It had to be lived, tested, applied to circumstances that would break lesser souls. Shortly after Marcus became emperor, the Parthian Empire in the east grew aggressive, threatening Rome's borders. Then came something worse. Plague, carried back by returning legions, swept through the empire, killing millions. And in the north, Germanic tribes pressed against the frontiers, requiring Marcus himself to take the field with his armies. For years, he would live not in the comfortable palaces of Rome, but in military camps along the Danube River, in regions of harsh winters and constant danger. Imagine the contrast: the most powerful man in the world, educated in philosophy and the arts, living in a tent, dealing with the brutal realities of war, disease, and death. Lesser men might have abandoned philosophy as impractical in such circumstances, but Marcus did the opposite. It was precisely in these difficult conditions that he needed his Stoicism most urgently. At night, after long days of councils and decisions that affected thousands of lives, Marcus would take out his journal and write. Not proclamations or histories, but reminders to himself, notes on how to maintain equanimity, how to accept what he could not change, how to perform his duties without resentment, how to remember that all things pass, even empires, even life itself. He wrote in Greek, the language of philosophy, filling pages with meditations that were never meant for other eyes. In one passage, he reminds himself that when he wakes each morning, he might encounter people who are meddling, ungrateful, and deceitful. But this is no reason to lose his own peace, for they act in ignorance of good and evil, and he remains free to respond with patience and understanding. In another passage, he contemplates the vastness of time and space, reflecting on how brief and small our lives are in the cosmic scale, and how this perspective can free us from petty anxieties. These weren't just pretty thoughts. They were survival tools, psychological techniques for maintaining sanity and virtue in nearly impossible circumstances. Feel yourself sinking deeper now, your breathing slow and rhythmic, as steady as waves on a distant shore. Like Marcus in his tent beside the Danube, you too can find stillness even when the world seems chaotic. The peace you seek is not somewhere else, not in different circumstances. It is here, now, available in this very moment through acceptance and the quieting of the mind. What emerged from those years of hardship and reflection was a man who had integrated power and wisdom in a way rarely seen. Marcus continued to rule for nearly 20 years, facing each challenge with the philosophical tools he had cultivated since youth. He never claimed to have mastered himself completely. His writings reveal ongoing struggles, moments of frustration and fatigue. But this honesty makes him more relatable, more human. He was not a sage who had transcended all difficulty. He was a person like you who worked daily to respond to life with wisdom and virtue. The Stoic framework he embraced taught him that we are all part of an interconnected whole, that cooperation and kindness serve both individual and collective good. It taught him that external things, wealth, reputation, health, even life itself, are neither good nor bad in themselves. Only our virtue, our character, our choices truly matter. And it taught him the practice of accepting each moment as it is, not as we wish it to be, finding in that acceptance a profound and unshakable peace. When Marcus Aurelius died in 180 CE, most likely from plague in his military camp, he had spent nearly 2 decades on the frontier, far from the comforts he could have enjoyed. He had been a good emperor by most historical measures, just, conscientious, concerned with the welfare of his people. But his greatest legacy was not his governance. It was those private journals, which would eventually be compiled and passed down through centuries, offering wisdom to countless souls seeking peace and meaning. Tonight, as we've followed his journey from curious youth to philosopher-emperor, we've begun to understand the foundation of his teachings. In the acts to come, we will explore those teachings more deeply, gently unpacking the wisdom that helped Marcus sleep peacefully even in a military tent surrounded by uncertainty. For now, simply rest in the knowledge that peace is possible, that acceptance is a skill we can cultivate, and that the wisdom of this ancient emperor can still guide us toward tranquility. Let your breath flow naturally, your body completely relaxed, your mind growing quieter and softer. You are safe. You are at peace. And like Marcus, you are learning to accept the world as it is, finding in that acceptance a deep and restful calm. The stars that shone over his tent beside the Danube shine still tonight, constant and serene, watching over you as you drift gently into restorative sleep. Those same stars watched as Marcus Aurelius sat in his military tent, far from the marble halls of Rome, far from the comforts of imperial luxury. The year is 170 CE, and the northern frontiers of the empire are ablaze with conflict. Germanic tribes press against the borders along the Danube River, and the emperor himself has come to lead his legions through this time of trial. Here, in the cold nights of military encampment, surrounded by the sounds of soldiers and the distant watchfires flickering against the darkness, Marcus finds moments of quiet solitude, and in these moments he writes. He does not write for posterity or for an audience. He writes for himself, a practice he calls his writings to himself, what we now know as the Meditations. By candlelight, after long days of strategy and decision, after witnessing the fragility of life on the battlefield, Marcus takes up his stylus and wax tablet and later parchment to record his thoughts. These are not grand proclamations or philosophical treatises meant to impress scholars. They are reminders, gentle corrections, words of encouragement spoken from one part of his soul to another. Imagine him there, this philosopher-emperor, wrapped in a simple cloak against the night's chill. The tent canvas shifts softly in the breeze. Outside, the empire stretches in all directions, vast and demanding, filled with problems that seem endless. But here, in this small circle of lamplight, Marcus creates a sanctuary. He returns to the teachings of the Stoic masters, Epictetus, whose words he cherished, and Zeno, who founded this school of thought centuries before. He reminds himself of what truly matters, of what lies within his control and what does not. In the first book of his Meditations, Marcus lists with gratitude all those who shaped him, who taught him virtue and wisdom. He thanks his grandfather for teaching him good character and self-control. He thanks his mother for her reverence and generosity. He thanks his tutors for showing him the value of hard work and simple living. This practice of gratitude becomes a foundation, a way of anchoring himself in what is good and true, even when surrounded by the chaos of war. As you listen, you too can feel that sense of gratitude settling around you like a warm blanket, reminding you of all the good that has touched your life, all the teachers and kindnesses that have shaped who you are. Marcus writes slowly, thoughtfully, each word a meditation in itself. He is not rushing toward any destination. The writing is the practice, the returning again and again to wisdom's well. He reminds himself that the universe is change, that life is opinion, that all that exists is in constant transformation. These thoughts, written in the quiet of a military campaign, become timeless whispers of acceptance. The Emperor of Rome, holding the weight of an empire on his shoulders, finds peace by remembering that he too is just a small part of something vast and beautiful, something that flows according to nature's perfect order. And as he writes, the tension in his shoulders eases. The worries of the day begin to fade, replaced by a deeper understanding, a gentle acceptance of what is. As you rest comfortably now, breathing gently and easily, let your mind drift back to those frontier encampments where Marcus continues his nightly practice of writing. He has discovered something profound, that philosophy is not merely an intellectual exercise, but a practical tool for living. Each passage he writes serves a purpose, addressing a specific challenge, soothing a particular anxiety, or reinforcing a vital truth that the mind so easily forgets in the tumult of daily life. One of the passages he returns to again and again concerns the nature of time and the present moment. Confine yourself to the present, he writes to himself. The past is gone, dissolved like morning mist. The future has not yet arrived and may never come as we imagine it. All we truly possess is this moment, this single breath, this heartbeat. And in this moment, Marcus reminds himself, there is enough. There is peace. The present moment is not overwhelming when we stop carrying the weight of yesterday and the worry of tomorrow. It is manageable, even light. You can feel this truth now, can't you? This moment requires nothing of you but to breathe, to rest, to simply be. The world can wait. The future will take care of itself. Right now, there is only this gentle drift towards sleep, this soft and peaceful present. Marcus writes about acceptance with the tenderness of someone who has struggled deeply to achieve it. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? These words, penned in the midst of war and plague, of political intrigue and personal loss, carry the weight of lived experience. He is not telling himself that everything is pleasant or desired, but rather that everything that happens is part of the great web of cause and effect that governs the universe. To resist reality is to tear oneself apart. To accept it is to flow like water, finding peace in yielding rather than rigidity. He reminds himself that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. This is not mere wordplay, but a profound shift in perception. Every obstacle, every difficulty becomes an opportunity to practice virtue, to exercise patience, to demonstrate courage or wisdom or justice. The military campaign that keeps him from Rome, the cold that seeps into his bones, the endless decisions that drain his energy. Each of these becomes material for his philosophical practice, a chance to align himself with nature's wisdom and live according to his highest principles. In another passage, written perhaps on a night much like this one, Marcus reflects on impermanence. All things fade and soon become myth, and myth too is forgotten. Even the greatest achievements, the most magnificent monuments, the most powerful empires, all will return to dust. This thought, which might seem melancholy in harsh daylight, becomes strangely comforting in the quiet of night. It releases us from the burden of trying to make everything permanent, from clinging desperately to what must inevitably change. You are not required to hold on so tightly. You can let go, just a little more with each breath, allowing the natural rhythm of change to carry you gently forward into deeper relaxation, into peaceful acceptance of the way things are. The meditations continue, night after night, a conversation between Marcus and his deeper self. He writes about the nature of the universe, seeing it not as chaotic or random, but as a single living organism, unified and purposeful. Everything is connected, each part serving the whole, just as your body's systems work in harmony even now as you rest. Your heart beats without your conscious effort. Your breath flows in and out like a gentle tide. All of this happens naturally, perfectly, because you are part of nature's grand design, just as Marcus understood himself to be. The universe is transformation, he writes. Life is opinion. These simple statements contain such depth. The universe is constantly changing, and this change is not something to fear, but to embrace as the fundamental nature of existence. Nothing remains static. The river flows, the seasons turn, the stars wheel slowly across the sky, and our life, our experience of peace or suffering, is shaped largely by our opinions, our judgments about what happens. An event in itself is neutral. It is our interpretation that makes it seem good or bad, desirable or terrible. Marcus is teaching himself, in these quiet moments of writing, to examine his opinions, to question his judgments, to see things as they truly are, rather than as his first reaction paints them. He practices what he calls objective representation, stripping away the emotional labels and seeing reality clearly. A military defeat is not a catastrophe. It is soldiers moving from one position to another. An illness is not a curse. It is the body undergoing certain processes. Even death itself, which so many fear, is simply a natural transformation, a return to the elements from which we came. This practice of seeing clearly without the distortion of fear or desire brings tremendous peace. You might try it now, in your own gentle way. Whatever concerns arose today, whatever worries linger at the edges of your mind, can you see them simply as thoughts, as mental events, rather than as threats? They are just clouds drifting through the sky of your awareness, temporary and insubstantial, incapable of harming your essential peace. In the depths of night, with the camp settled into stillness around him, Marcus writes one of his most beautiful reflections. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Here, the Stoic emperor reveals his profound sense of wonder and connection. He does not see himself as separate from the cosmos, but as an integral part of it, participating in its grand movement through time. The same forces that guide the planets guide his life. The same intelligence that orders the stars orders his days. This realization brings not insignificance but belonging, not smallness, but participation in something magnificent. You too are part of this cosmic dance. The atoms that form your body were forged in ancient stars. The breath you draw connects you to every living thing. You are not isolated or alone, but woven into the fabric of existence itself. Marcus understood this deeply, and it brought him comfort in difficult times. As you rest now, you can feel that connection, that belonging. You are exactly where you are meant to be, held safely in the embrace of the universe, part of something vast and beautiful and perfectly ordered. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Simply rest in this awareness, this gentle acceptance of your place in the grand pattern of all things. Marcus continues writing through the years of the northern campaigns, and his meditations become a refuge, a portable sanctuary he carries with him wherever duty calls. In these pages, he develops practices for finding peace amid chaos, wisdom amid confusion. One such practice is the contemplation of death, not in a morbid way, but as a reminder of life's preciousness and brevity. You could leave life right now, he tells himself. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This awareness of mortality sharpens his focus on what truly matters. Living virtuously, treating others with kindness, aligning himself with nature's will. But there is gentleness in his approach to himself as well. When he fails to live up to his ideals, when he becomes angry or frustrated or attached to things beyond his control, he does not berate himself harshly. Instead, he returns patiently to his principles. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This might seem pessimistic, but it is actually a form of compassionate preparation. By anticipating difficulty, he is not shocked or thrown off balance when it arrives. He has already made space for it in his understanding. And then he reminds himself why he can remain patient and kind despite these challenges. Because all people are connected. All are doing their best with the understanding they have. All are fellow participants in the great human family. You can adopt this same gentle preparation in your own life, this same compassionate acceptance. Tomorrow may bring challenges, but you do not need to solve them now. Right now is for rest, for releasing the day's tensions, for allowing your mind and body to restore themselves. Marcus knew the importance of rest, even in the midst of war. He knew that wisdom requires a calm mind, and a calm mind requires adequate sleep and restoration. So he would finish his writing, set down his stylus, extinguish the lamp, and surrender to sleep, trusting that he had done his best, that tomorrow he would rise and continue the work, that all was unfolding as it should. Among the most powerful passages in the Meditations are those concerning our relationship with others. Marcus reminds himself that people who do wrong do so out of ignorance, not malice. They are mistaken about what is good for them, confused about what will bring them happiness. This understanding transforms anger into compassion, resentment into patience. The best revenge is not to be like that, he writes, choosing instead to embody the virtues he wishes to see in the world. To return harm with kindness, to meet anger with calm, to respond to hatred with love. These are the practices of a Stoic sage, and Marcus strives toward them each day, using his nightly writing to correct his course, to realign himself with wisdom. As you sink deeper into comfort now, you can release any lingering resentments or frustrations from your day. The people who annoyed you, who disappointed you, who failed to meet your expectations, they too are struggling, learning, doing their best with what they know. You can let go of the need for them to be different. You can accept them as they are, just as you are learning to accept yourself with all your imperfections and humanity. This acceptance is not weakness, but profound strength. It is the wisdom Marcus cultivated through years of patient practice, years of writing to himself in the quiet hours, years of choosing peace over conflict, understanding over judgment, acceptance over resistance. In the final passages Marcus writes during these campaigns, there is a deepening sense of peace, a quality of acceptance that comes only from sustained practice and genuine understanding. He has learned to see his life not as a series of problems to be solved, but as a series of opportunities to practice virtue, to align himself with the universe's will, to participate consciously in the unfolding of nature's design. Everything harmonizes with me which is harmonious to thee, O universe, he writes. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which is in due time for thee. Everything is fruit to me which thy seasons bring, O nature. From thee are all things, in thee are all things, to thee all things return. This surrender to the larger order, this trust in the fundamental goodness and rightness of the cosmos represents the culmination of Stoic practice. It is not passive resignation but active cooperation with reality. Marcus continues to fulfill his duties as emperor, to make decisions, to lead his armies, to administer justice. But he does so without the inner turmoil of resistance, without constantly wishing things were other than they are. He accepts his role, accepts the challenges it brings, accepts even the suffering and difficulty, seeing all of it as material for cultivating wisdom and virtue. You too can rest in this acceptance now. Whatever your life contains, joys and sorrows, successes and failures, ease and difficulty, all of it is woven into the pattern of your existence for a reason. You do not need to understand that reason fully. You do not need to justify or explain or fix everything. You need only to accept, to allow, to flow with what is, rather than against it. This is the peace Marcus found in his tent by the Danube, writing by lamplight, reminding himself again and again of these eternal truths. And this peace is available to you now in this moment as you release control and simply let yourself be carried gently into sleep. The Meditations were never published during Marcus's lifetime. They were his private practice, his personal tool for maintaining inner peace amid external chaos. After his death, these writings were preserved, passed down through the centuries, and now they speak to us across the vast expanse of time. The same words that brought comfort to a Roman emperor facing war and plague bring comfort to you tonight, facing whatever challenges fill your life. The wisdom is timeless because human nature is timeless. The peace Marcus sought is the peace you seek. The acceptance he cultivated is the acceptance you are learning. Imagine Marcus now closing his journal after finishing his evening's writing. He takes a slow breath, feeling the tension release from his shoulders. Outside, the camp is quiet except for the footsteps of night sentries and the occasional whinny of horses. Above, the stars continue their eternal circuit, unchanged by human concerns, beautiful and distant and serene. He extinguishes the lamp, and darkness settles softly around him. He lies down on his simple military cot, wraps his cloak around himself, and closes his eyes. His mind is clear, unburdened by worry or regret. He has done what he could do. He has aligned himself with wisdom. Now he surrenders to sleep, trusting in the universe's plan, accepting whatever tomorrow will bring. You too can close the book on this day, can release all that has been and all that might be, can simply rest in this present moment. Like Marcus, you have done enough. You are enough. There is nothing more required of you now except to breathe gently, to relax completely, and to drift peacefully into the deep, restorative sleep that nature provides. The ancient emperor's words echo softly across the centuries: accept, allow, surrender, rest. And you do, sinking deeper with each breath, carried gently into peaceful dreams by the same wisdom that sustained Marcus Aurelius in his tent beside the Danube, beneath the eternal stars. The wisdom that sustained Marcus Aurelius, that allowed him to find peace amidst the chaos of empire and war, rests upon three fundamental pillars of Stoic philosophy. These are not abstract ideas meant only for scholars, but practical principles that anyone can embrace, as simple and natural as breathing itself. The first of these pillars is perhaps the most liberating of all, the dichotomy of control. Marcus returned to this teaching again and again in his meditations, reminding himself in the quiet hours before dawn that some things are within our power and some things are not. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Almost too simple. But in this distinction lies a profound source of peace. As you rest here now, breathing softly, you can begin to feel the truth of this ancient wisdom. Marcus wrote that we have power over our own minds, our own judgments, our own responses to the world. These things, only these, are truly ours. Everything else, he observed, is beyond our control. The opinions of others, the turning of fortune, the outcomes of our efforts, even the length of our days, all these flow according to nature's vast design, not according to our wishes. And so the Stoic asks, why struggle against what cannot be changed? Why exhaust yourself trying to control the uncontrollable? Marcus learned to distinguish clearly between these two domains. When faced with any situation, he would pause and ask himself, what here is within my control, and what is not? This simple question, repeated like a gentle mantra, brought him back to center. It can do the same for you now as your body grows heavier and your thoughts begin to drift. The things within your control are few but powerful. Your attention, your values, your character, your response to circumstances. These are your inner citadel, as Marcus called it, a fortress that no external force can breach unless you open the gates yourself. Everything else, reputation, wealth, health, the weather, other people's choices, all these belong to the realm beyond your power. Marcus wrote these words in his journal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Feel how those words settle over you like a soft blanket. Power over your mind, not outside events. What relief this brings. What peace. Once you accept this dichotomy, once you truly internalize the distinction between what you control and what you don't, a remarkable transformation occurs. The anxiety that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable simply dissolves. Like mist in morning sunlight, it fades away. Marcus experienced this himself, again and again. When news arrived of trouble in distant provinces, when advisors brought him problems that seemed insurmountable, when his own body ached with illness, he would return to this fundamental truth. He could not control these circumstances, but he could control his response to them. He could choose wisdom over panic, acceptance over resistance, virtue over despair. And this brings us naturally to the second pillar of Stoic wisdom, the primacy of virtue. For the Stoics, and for Marcus especially, virtue was not merely one good among many. It was the only true good, the sole source of genuine happiness and peace. Marcus listed the 4 cardinal virtues repeatedly in his writings, as if by naming them he could weave them more deeply into his character. Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These 4, he believed, were all that truly mattered. Everything else, pleasure, comfort, success, praise, all these were what the Stoics called indifference. Not bad in themselves, but not truly good either. Not essential to a life well lived. This idea might seem strange at first, as you lie here in the darkness, breathing slowly, letting the day fall away. We're taught to pursue so many things: achievement, recognition, security, pleasure. But Marcus asks us to consider, what if happiness doesn't depend on obtaining these things? What if peace comes not from getting what you want, but from wanting what accords with virtue? From being the kind of person you respect? He wrote, Nowhere can a person find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in their own mind. Not in possessions, not in circumstances, but in character itself. In choosing, moment by moment, to act with wisdom, to treat others justly, to face difficulties with courage, to practice moderation in all things. These choices, Marcus realized, were always available to him, regardless of circumstances. Even in the midst of war, even while sick, even when surrounded by people who disappointed him, he could still choose virtue. And in that choice, he found freedom. Feel that freedom now, settling into your bones, the freedom that comes from knowing that peace doesn't depend on external conditions, that you carry the source of tranquility within you, always. The third pillar of Stoic wisdom, the one that Marcus found most comforting during long nights in military camps, is the principle of living in harmony with nature. Not just the natural world around us, though that's part of it, but with the fundamental nature of the universe itself. The Stoics believed that the cosmos operates according to reason, according to a rational principle they called logos. Everything that happens for a reason, as part of an interconnected whole. Marcus wrote extensively about this in his meditations, reminding himself that he was not separate from the universe but a part of it, like a thread in a vast tapestry. Everything is interwoven, he observed, and the web is holy. When something unwelcome happened, a betrayal, an illness, a military setback, Marcus would remind himself that this too was part of nature's design. Not as punishment, not as random chaos, but as part of the natural unfolding of causes and effects that govern all things. This perspective didn't make him passive or resigned. Rather, it freed him to accept circumstances as they were while still acting with virtue within them. He could accept that rain falls and still seek shelter. He could accept that people sometimes act unjustly and still work for justice himself. The Stoic acceptance of nature isn't fatalism. It's wisdom. It's understanding your place in the larger whole and acting appropriately within it. As you breathe here in the darkness, your chest rising and falling like gentle waves, you too are part of this vast natural rhythm. Your breath is air that has cycled through countless lungs over millennia. Your body follows ancient patterns of rest and waking. Your mind even now is settling into the natural state that all creatures seek, peaceful, restorative sleep. Marcus found great comfort in contemplating his connection to nature. When he felt overwhelmed by the responsibilities of empire, he would reflect that he was just one small part of a much larger whole, playing his role for a brief time before returning to the elements from which he came. This thought didn't sadden him. It brought perspective, proportion, peace. He wrote, "Look at the stars. The sight of them gives peace." And so he did, night after night, seeing in their eternal patterns a reflection of the rational order that governs all things. You too can feel this connection now. You are not separate from nature, not fighting against it. You are nature itself, resting, healing, following ancient patterns of renewal. How peaceful that is, how right. These three principles, the dichotomy of control, the primacy of virtue, and living in harmony with nature, are not separate teachings, but three aspects of one integrated wisdom. They support each other, like the legs of a tripod. When Marcus practiced discerning what was in his control, he naturally focused on cultivating virtue, because virtue alone is always within our power. And when he aligned himself with nature, accepting the universe as it is, he found it easier to release his grip on things beyond his control. This integration brought him profound peace, even in circumstances that might have broken a less philosophical mind. Consider a specific example from his life. During the Marcomannic Wars, Marcus spent years away from Rome, living in military camps along the Danube frontier. The conditions were harsh. The wars dragged on far longer than expected. Many of his soldiers died of plague. His co-emperor and adopted brother Lucius Verus died during this campaign. His beloved wife Faustina died as well. The treasury was strained to the breaking point. Any of these circumstances might have filled him with bitterness, despair, or rage. But Marcus had his philosophy to guide him. Each setback, each loss became an opportunity to practice the principles he'd learned. When he felt grief at a death, he acknowledged the feeling. Stoics don't deny emotions, but then reminded himself that death is natural, that separation is inevitable, that we don't control how long anyone lives. When military victories eluded him, he focused on what he could control, his own strategic decisions, his treatment of his soldiers, his personal conduct. He couldn't control the outcome of battles, but he could control whether he acted with wisdom and courage in planning them. When exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him, when the weight of responsibility seemed unbearable, he would write in his journal, reminding himself of what truly mattered. Not success, not comfort, not even survival, but virtue. Acting rightly, maintaining his character, being the person he wanted to be, regardless of circumstances. And slowly, gradually, as you rest here now, you can begin to feel how these principles might work in your own life. Not as abstract philosophy, but as practical wisdom, as a way of finding peace in the midst of whatever circumstances you face. You don't need to be an emperor. You don't need to be in a war. The principles work just the same in ordinary life, in quiet moments, in the gentle darkness where you rest now. What is within your control? Your attention, your character, your response. Everything else, let it go. Let it flow as nature intends. As this night deepens around you, as your body grows heavier and your mind more peaceful, let these Stoic principles settle into your awareness like snow falling softly on still ground. The dichotomy of control, so simple, so freeing. What you control, your mind, your character, your response. What you don't control, everything else. And in that distinction, peace. Such peace. The primacy of virtue. The understanding that happiness comes not from circumstances, but from character. Not from what happens to you, but from who you choose to be. Wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. These are always available, always within reach, regardless of external conditions. Living in harmony with nature. Accepting the universe as it is, seeing yourself as part of a vast interconnected whole, following natural rhythms as naturally as breathing. As your breath flows now, slow and steady, in and out, like waves on a distant shore. Marcus Aurelius understood these principles not just intellectually, but in his bones, in his lived experience. He tested them against the hardest circumstances life can offer: war, loss, responsibility, illness, loneliness, and found them sound. They brought him peace. They sustained him. They allowed him to rule justly, to face difficulty with equanimity, to maintain his humanity in circumstances that stripped away everything else. And now, across 2,000 years, his wisdom reaches you here in the darkness. The same principles, the same peace. You don't need to be an emperor to benefit from Stoic wisdom. You need only to remember, as you drift towards sleep now, what is truly important. Not what you cannot control. Not circumstances, not outcomes, not the opinions of others. But your own mind, your own character, your own response to the unfolding of nature's plan. Marcus would tell you, if he could, to release your grip, to let go, to accept what is, rather than struggling against it. He would remind you that you carry within yourself everything you need for peace, that nowhere offers a quieter retreat than your own mind. When you cultivate wisdom there, when you choose virtue, when you align with nature's rhythms. And so as sleep begins to pull you gently down into its healing depths, let these ancient truths support you. Let them carry you. The dichotomy of control, virtue as the only true good, harmony with nature. These aren't just ideas anymore. They're becoming part of you, as natural as breathing, as inevitable as sleep itself. Marcus understood. He found peace, and so can you, sinking deeper now, releasing control, accepting what is, following nature's gentle call toward rest, toward healing, toward the peace that waits for you in sleep. Everything else can wait. Everything else can wait. And now, as you rest here in this peaceful moment, we turn to the practical wisdom Marcus Aurelius used each day. The simple exercises that transformed philosophy into lived experience, into actual peace. These are not complicated practices. They require no special tools, no perfect conditions. They are gentle, accessible ways to cultivate the acceptance we have been exploring together. Marcus used these exercises during his busiest days, his most challenging campaigns, his moments of deepest responsibility. And yet, they brought him stillness, they brought him calm. They can do the same for you, even now, as you listen and let go. The first practice Marcus embraced was the morning reflection. Each day, before the demands began, before the world required his attention, he would spend quiet moments preparing his mind, not with worry or planning, but with acceptance. He would remind himself of what the day might bring. difficult people, frustrating circumstances, unexpected challenges. But rather than dreading these possibilities, he would accept them in advance. He might say to himself softly, gently, "Today I will meet people who are busy, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." But this is not surprising. They act this way because they cannot distinguish good from bad. I have seen the nature of good and the nature of evil, and I know that none of this can truly harm me. I will not be disturbed. I will remain at peace. Notice the gentle power in this practice. Marcus was not pretending difficulties would not arise. He was accepting that they would. He was preparing himself not by building walls or armor, but by remembering what truly matters, what is truly within his control, his own response, his own inner tranquility. Each morning he would breathe slowly, reflect carefully, and set an intention for acceptance. This simple practice created a foundation of peace that lasted throughout his day. You can feel that same foundation forming now as you breathe slowly, as you release the need for tomorrow to be perfect, as you accept that whatever comes, you will meet it with the calm that is your true nature. Breathing in, breathing out, accepting what is, preparing for rest. As you sink deeper into relaxation now, we explore the second practice Marcus treasured, the evening review. At the end of each day, when the sun had set and the demands had quieted, Marcus would reflect on what had occurred, not with judgment or harsh criticism, but with gentle honesty. He would ask himself simple questions, spoken softly in the privacy of his own mind. What did I do well today? Where did I act according to virtue? Where did I stumble? Where did I let external events disturb my peace? These questions were not designed to create guilt or shame. They were invitations to learn, to grow, to understand himself more deeply. The evening review was a practice of compassionate self-examination, a way to close each day with awareness and acceptance. Marcus would sit quietly, perhaps in his tent during a campaign, perhaps in his chamber in Rome, and he would simply remember. He would notice the moments when he remained calm despite provocation. He would acknowledge the times when he lost his center, when he forgot his philosophy, when he allowed worry or anger to take hold. And then, without harsh judgment, he would simply observe these moments, learn from them, and let them go. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities. Tomorrow he would try again. The evening review was not about perfection. It was about awareness, about gentle progress, about accepting both his successes and his struggles with equal peace. You can feel this same gentle acceptance now, can't you? Letting go of the need to judge yourself harshly, releasing the demand for perfection. Whatever happened today, it is done. You did what you could. You met the day as you were able. And that is enough. That has always been enough. Like Marcus, you can observe your day with kindness, learn what is useful, and release the rest. Breathing slowly now. Reviewing with compassion. Accepting with peace. Letting the day dissolve into the darkness of restful sleep. Everything you needed to do, you have done. Everything else can wait. The evening draws you inward now, toward rest, toward restoration, toward the quiet healing that happens when we stop striving and simply accept. Deeper now, sinking deeper into comfort and peace, we come to a practice that may seem unusual at first, but holds profound wisdom: negative visualization. The Stoics, including Marcus, would occasionally imagine losing the things they valued, not to create fear or anxiety, but to cultivate gratitude and acceptance. Marcus would sometimes reflect that everything he had, his position, his health, his loved ones, were temporary gifts, not permanent possessions. He might think quietly to himself, "The person I love may not be here tomorrow. My health may change, my circumstances may shift. All things are impermanent. All things will eventually pass away." But rather than filling him with dread, this practice filled him with appreciation and peace. When Marcus remembered that everything was temporary, he could appreciate what he had in this moment without clinging desperately, without demanding that things remain unchanged forever. He could love fully while accepting that loss is part of life. He could enjoy his health while knowing it would not last forever. He could appreciate his responsibilities while understanding that someday someone else would carry them. This practice of negative visualization was not morbid or pessimistic. It was profoundly liberating. It freed him from the tyranny of permanence, from the exhausting attempt to hold on to what cannot be held, from the futile resistance to change. You can feel this liberation now, can't you? Breathing slowly, accepting that everything in your life is temporary, including your worries, including your concerns, including whatever kept you awake or anxious. It will all pass. It is already passing. And in accepting this beautiful impermanence, you find freedom. You find peace. You stop clinging and start flowing. You stop resisting and start accepting. Marcus understood this deeply. He practiced it gently, and it brought him the tranquility that allowed him to face each day with courage and each night with rest. Letting go now, accepting impermanence, finding peace in the temporary nature of all things, sinking into the knowledge that this moment, this breath, this peaceful feeling is enough. It is all we ever truly have, and it is enough. And now, as you rest even more deeply, we come to perhaps the most profound practice of all, memento mori. Remember that you will die. This ancient phrase, whispered through the centuries, was not meant to frighten, but to awaken, to clarify, to bring perspective and peace. Marcus Aurelius contemplated his mortality frequently, not with fear or morbid obsession, but with calm acceptance. He would remind himself that his time was limited, that each day was precious, that nothing was guaranteed beyond this present moment. And this awareness, rather than creating anxiety, created profound peace. When Marcus remembered his mortality, he stopped wasting energy on trivial concerns. He stopped sweating the small annoyances that drain so much of our peace. He asked himself, does this matter in the face of death? Will this concern seem important when I am old? Is this worry worth the cost of my tranquility? Almost always the answer was no. Almost always the perspective of mortality revealed what truly mattered. Living with virtue, treating others with kindness, maintaining inner peace, appreciating the present moment. Everything else, all the social anxieties and petty frustrations and endless worries, all of it faded into insignificance when held against the reality of limited time. You can feel this perspective washing over you now, can't you? All the things that seemed so important, so urgent, so worthy of worry. They grow smaller, quieter, less demanding. In the face of your finite time on earth, does it really matter what someone said? What might happen tomorrow? Whether everything goes perfectly according to plan? Marcus would tell you no. He would tell you to release these small concerns, to accept what comes, to focus on what you can control, your virtue, your response, your inner peace. And in remembering mortality, paradoxically, you find the freedom to truly live, to truly rest, to truly let go. Because this moment is all you truly have, this breath is the only one that matters right now. And this peaceful acceptance is the greatest gift you can give yourself, sinking deeper, remembering what matters, releasing what doesn't, finding the profound peace that comes with perspective and acceptance. And so these practices come together now, weaving into one gentle rhythm of acceptance and peace. Morning reflection, accepting what the day may bring, preparing your mind with calm intention. Evening review, observing with compassion, learning gently, releasing judgment. Negative visualization, appreciating the impermanent beauty of this moment, letting go of desperate clinging. Memento mori, remembering what truly matters, releasing all that doesn't. These ancient exercises, practiced by Marcus Aurelius nearly 2,000 years ago, still hold their power, still offer their peace, still guide us toward acceptance and rest. You don't need to master these practices tonight. You don't need to do anything at all right now except rest. But somewhere in your awareness, these seeds have been planted. These gentle ways of cultivating peace are now part of your understanding. Perhaps tomorrow morning, you will take a moment to reflect, to prepare, to accept the day in advance. Perhaps tomorrow evening, you will review your day with kindness rather than harsh judgment. Perhaps in moments of anxiety, you will remember impermanence, remember mortality, remember perspective, and in remembering, you will find the peace that Marcus found, the acceptance that allowed him to sleep despite his enormous responsibilities, the tranquility that comes from aligning with nature, accepting what is, controlling only what you can control. For now, though, there is only this: breathing slowly, sinking deeply, accepting completely. Your body grows heavier, more relaxed, more peaceful with each breath. Your mind grows quieter, softer, more accepting with each moment. The practices of ancient Stoicism have done their work, guiding you toward the peace that was always there, waiting beneath the worry, beneath the resistance, beneath the endless striving. Marcus found it. Generations of Stoics found it, and now you are finding it too. The peaceful acceptance that allows rest, the gentle letting go that invites sleep, the quiet understanding that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, which is nothing at all, nothing but releasing, accepting, surrendering to the natural rhythm that draws all living things toward restoration, toward healing, toward sleep. Let it come now. Let it carry you. Let everything else fade away into the peaceful darkness where Marcus waits, where wisdom waits, where the deep restorative sleep you need waits patiently for you. You remember the teaching about living according to nature, about aligning yourself with the great rhythm of existence. And here now, in this moment of deepening relaxation, you feel that rhythm more clearly than ever before. It moves through you like breath, like heartbeat, like the slow tide of consciousness receding toward the shore of sleep. This is your nature too, this need for rest, this call toward restoration. Just as the sun sets and rises, as the seasons turn in their endless cycle, as the stars wheel overhead in their ancient patterns, you too are meant to rest, to sleep, to release the day and all its concerns into the care of something larger than yourself. The universe, Marcus wrote, is transformation. Life is opinion. And tonight, your opinion softens, becomes gentle, becomes accepting. You choose to see this moment as it truly is, a safe harbor, a peaceful refuge, a space where nothing is required of you except to be, to breathe, to rest. The Stoic concept of virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation finds its expression here too, in the wisdom to recognize when striving must end, in the justice of giving yourself the rest you deserve, in the courage to let go of control, in the moderation that knows even consciousness itself must take its pause. These are not contradictions to the active practice of philosophy. They are its fulfillment. For what is the purpose of all wisdom if not to lead us eventually to peace? What is the goal of all understanding if not to teach us how to rest? Marcus knew this. In the depths of his exhaustion, in the weight of empire and war and responsibility, he found his way back, again and again, to these simple truths, and he offers them to you now across the centuries as a gift, as a permission, as a gentle hand on your shoulder saying, "You have done enough. You have thought enough, you have worried enough, now rest." The practices you learned in earlier moments, the morning reflections, the evening reviews, the gentle examination of each day, these too find their completion in release. For Marcus would end each day not with judgment, but with learning, not with criticism, but with understanding, and then he would sleep. He would let the day become memory, let memory become lesson, let lesson dissolve into the peaceful darkness that restores all things. You can do this now. You can let today, with all its moments, all its challenges, all its small victories and disappointments, become simply a day that was, a page that is turned, a chapter that is closed. There is nothing left to add to it, nothing left to fix or change or worry over. It exists now in the past, in that realm beyond your control, in that vast territory that the Stoics taught us to observe without attachment, to acknowledge without disturbance. And tomorrow, with all its possibilities and unknowns, still rests in the future, in that other realm beyond your grasp, in that space that requires nothing from you in this moment. The only moment is now. This breath, this peaceful letting go, this gradual, gentle descent into the rest your body and mind so deeply need. Marcus wrote of the quality of thoughts, how the soul is dyed by them, how we become what we contemplate. And so as you drift deeper now, you contemplate peace. You contemplate acceptance. You contemplate the soft darkness that heals, the silence that restores, the sleep that comes now like an old friend, familiar and kind. Your thoughts are becoming the color of rest, the texture of tranquility, the temperature of perfect, comfortable relaxation. Each breath dyes your consciousness a deeper shade of peace. Each moment of letting go adds another layer of calm, until there is nothing left but the quiet and the darkness and the gentle dissolution of waking into sleeping, of consciousness into dreams. There is a passage from the Meditations that returns now softly like a whisper at the edge of hearing. Marcus writes, "Confine yourself to the present, and here in this present moment there is only comfort, only safety, only the soft surface beneath you, the gentle air around you, the darkness that holds you like a loving embrace. Nothing from the past can reach you here. Nothing from the future can disturb you here. You are held in the eternal now, where the only truth is rest, the only reality is peace, the only requirement is to allow yourself to drift deeper and deeper still." The emperor's voice, imagined or remembered, seems to merge with the silence itself, becoming not words but feeling. Accept what comes, release what goes, trust the nature of all things. You are part of something vast and ordered and fundamentally good. The universe does not make mistakes. Your need for sleep is not weakness, but wisdom. Your body's call for rest is not failure, but nature. And nature, the Stoics knew, is perfect in its design. Every bird knows when to roost. Every creature understands the rhythm of activity and rest. And you, too, are a creature of this wise universe. You, too, carry that ancient knowledge in your bones, in your cells, in the way your eyes grow heavy now, in the way your muscles soften and release, in the way your mind begins to wander into those strange, beautiful territories that border sleep. Let it wander. Let it drift. Marcus is there, in those borderlands, a guardian of your rest, though he requires nothing from you, not even awareness of his presence. The wisdom is doing its work now beneath conscious thought, in that deep place where philosophy becomes physiology, where understanding becomes relaxation, where acceptance becomes sleep. And now the words themselves begin to fade, becoming spaces, becoming silence, becoming the soft darkness that asks nothing, offers everything. You have walked with Marcus, learned his lessons, felt his peace, and now you can let even that go. Let even the story dissolve into simple, perfect rest. There is nothing to remember, nothing to hold, nothing to keep, only this soft, gentle fading into sleep. Marcus wrote that death is a release, but sleep is a gift, a nightly return to the source of all peace. And you are returning now, drifting, floating, held by something ancient, something wise, something that knows exactly how to carry you into deep, restorative, healing sleep. The emperor sleeps too, his work complete, his empire long dust, but his peace eternal, and that peace is yours now, woven into your breath, into your heartbeat, into the soft, slow rhythm that carries you deeper. Let go, accept, release. The universe holds you, nature surrounds you, wisdom has brought you here to this perfect moment of surrender, of trust, of sleep. And you can sleep now, deeply, peacefully, completely, knowing that all is well, all is exactly as it should be, and you are safe. You are held. You are drifting now into the peaceful darkness, where Marcus waits no longer because you have arrived. And there is nothing more, nothing but the soft, gentle, infinite peace of deep, deep sleep Thank you for listening tonight. If this story helped you drift off, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more calming stories. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you next time.